I've got 2 days off and I want to go to Chicago because it's one of my favorite cities. Now, I could fly there. I would have already been there by this time if I got an early enough flight, but I get crammed onto a plane in a small seat with a whole lot of people. Plus, there's the time and expense of getting to the airport, both in Minneapolis and in Chicago. I could drive there. That would take about 7 hours, and I do enjoy the open road. It wouldn't be that expensive for gas, but once I get there, I got to pay to park. There's the increased cost of fuel in Chicago coming back, and the stress of driving around a whole lot of people and commodities that are filling up our roads. So instead, I'm going to take a train. To get to Chicago by train, you used to have to take the Empire Builder. The Empire Builder starts off as 2 trains, one from Portland and one from Seattle, that meet up in Spokane, Washington. In Spokane, they join together and continue as 1 train. And after 2 nights, they get to St. Paul and then continue on to Chicago. That eastbound trip is so long that train is often delayed by the time it gets to St. Paul. As such, in recent years, the states of Wisconsin and Minnesota have sought to create a 2nd train per day to go to Chicago on a more reliable schedule. That train was named Borealis. It's this train right over here. And today we're taking that from St. Paul to Chicago in business class. It's been running for 7 days now, so we can see exactly how the service is shaping up and how it's going to fit into my future travel plans. The Borealis is the northwestern arm of Amtrak's Midwestern services. Its endpoint in the Twin Cities lies at St. Paul Union Depot, and it's the 2nd Amtrak service to serve the terminal in the decades since its reopening. So a few things to know about Borealis. First off, it's a regional train. It makes stops between St. Paul and Milwaukee and then on into Chicago, the same stops that the Empire Builder does. However, unlike the Empire Builder, there is no baggage car. So if you're bringing your 2-bag allowance with you, you're going to have to lug it onto the train. There's also no bicycle storage on this train. That would be in the baggage car again. So until that's installed, there's kind of limited options for doing anything but yourself and a couple bags on the train. Now, today we're taking business class, and in not all stations do you get to use a lounge for business class. However, in St. Paul, apparently you do, because when I asked about the business class boarding procedure, the station agent told me that yes, you'll board first, and I do have access to the lounge via a key code that's normally reserved for sleeping car passengers on the Empire Builder. I've been in this lounge many times, and I'm glad I get a comfy place to sit today. From the Kellogg entry, we make our way into the Grand Passenger Concourse, which is surprisingly not configured as a meeting space today as it was in my previous couple years of trips. Oh my goodness, the waiting hall is finally uncovered. Just over 100 years old, the meticulously restored depot is a great example of form preceding intended function. It mostly sees Metro Transit and intercity bus passengers, and doubles as a public open space. The business class lounge, still signed for Empire Builder sleeper car passengers, is a small windowed space with nice couches, bottled water, and reading material, which I'll show more of in a future video. Today, about 5 other passengers were waiting in the lounge, and I paid them privacy, slipping out for a look at the goings-on of the head house. The lack of trains has seen few tenants into the retail spaces. Here once was a restaurant, now being sold off to a new tenant. Well, the one actual restaurant has closed down now. It says they're going to announce something else for that space. The bike repair shop also typically serves as a coffee shop, but is closed today for the Memorial Day holiday. Likewise, Choo Choo Bob's train store, recently relocated from the Merriam Park neighborhood, won't be open for the kiddos today. Of course, it being Memorial Day, most of these stores are closed. The space is still a public space open to all, and it's nice to see that the waiting area has finally been uncordoned off. I haven't been here in the past couple of years and seen that. Not that I come here every day, and likely it has been opened up prior to today, but it's so nice to see that for the first week of operation of Borealis, passengers can utilize the full concourse the way it was meant to be. Not just meant to be used as a money-making tool for the city and the station. I get it. They have to pay their operating costs, but it's nice to be able to use the space for what it was intended to be used for.
No longer contained to a corridor along the wall, coach passengers can spread out awaiting Borealis' 11:50 a.m. departure. The Empire Builder left just past 8:30 this morning. If it were late, this would be packed with passengers vying for 2 consecutive Chicago-bound trains, contending with each other in the limited slots for train traffic along the freight line. Thankfully, this has yet to occur on the Borealis' first week of operation. Often overlooked, the historic stair affords passengers a glimpse into the history of the depot's evolving role in Minnesota state transportation, as well as the city of St. Paul's Lowertown neighborhood. Recently refurbished with informative wall wraps, the unrestored stairs lead down to track level, where you can set yourself in the perspective of history and progress near the rails. Union Depot is one of the few places in St. Paul where you can really just relax. There's a good security presence, so you don't get a lot of people that shouldn't be just loitering around. You've got a great open space today with the entire concourse available for everyone to wade in. They've even positioned the benches so that it appears that this is the way that it could last for the foreseeable future. About 25 minutes prior to departure, and we're headed to the gate to begin boarding for train 1340, the Borealis, to Chicago. Amtrak has a single passenger gate at the end of the concourse. Business class passengers are escorted into the modern waiting area above track level. There were only a handful of empty seats in the premium service on this rainy Monday holiday. Chatter among the passengers seemed to suggest that all but a couple had never traveled by train, which is typical of many departing on journeys from St. Paul, suggesting that the thus far infrequent passenger rail services in the region have an uphill battle to win over upper Midwesterners who thrive on all things convenient. The train crew radios to the station agents, and we're allowed down to platform level, where we meet the rear-end power for our train, just ahead of our business class car. The cafe car makes up the other half of this medium-distance Amfleet 1 car built in the 1970s by the Bud Company. Business class is in a 1-2 configuration. Its seats are structurally the same as coach, with a different leather finish as well as a tray table, footrest, and leg rest, with the seat pairs having cup holders on the armrests. Pitch between the seats is similar to airline first class, making it awkward for my 5'6" frame to sit with both the leg and footrests up at the same time, but I eventually found a way to sit that was doable. 2 US power points are afforded to each side of the row, and fairly good Wi-Fi held throughout the trip. The restroom in this Amtrak business class cafe car is apparently only for crew and business class passengers, as was told to us by the conductor because she cleaned it so thoroughly. So, good deal. The selling points of business class are a quieter car with fewer passengers, as well as a more personalized service from the cafe car attendant. 1 soft drink and unlimited coffee, tea, and water are also included with business class fares. Considering the lounge and priority boarding at St. Paul, it's a nice set of perks at a hardly inflated price when booked well in advance. I prefer Amtrak's older rolling stock interiors to their newer cars. These seats have infinitely more padding and recline. It best shows off the perks of average speed train travel versus crowded but cheaper airline accommodations.
Be sure to hang on tight to the back of the seat, the overhead luggage racks, and those built-in handles. The train can unexpectedly get a little bumpy. To prevent any accidents, once again, take those precautions as you walk through. And
that was a fast trip. Almost a great time of hours of life.
I get settled in with some gonzo fiction as the train begins to pick up speed before meeting a restriction just prior to the point where the BNSF line splits off on its path toward the Wisconsin side of the Mississippi River. We'll meet up with it again before Hastings, and once again in La Crosse after crossing the Mississippi River there. Not much of a scenic route, there's industry and river-enhanced landscapes for most of the way out of town.
This is coming from your cafe car, because my car is located at the very rear of the train and is now open and serving. Once again, the cafe car is now open and serving.
We eventually pick up the pace, making about 70 miles per hour or better along the old Milwaukee Road line turned CPKC into Hastings. Though high-speed rail has found its way into varied landscapes around the world, faster passenger trains in Middle America haven't the audience nor the unique balance of political and financial backing to exist. Rail lines such as the Northeast Corridor from Boston to DC are the closest thing to profitable running for Amtrak. Though I would argue that if railroads were viewed for the utility they can provide passengers as one of many transportation options, and their benefits carefully fostered, the state of mind of Americans in the Midwest might not see trains as a novelty, but for the convenience they don't even realize they can conceptually offer. Simply put, railroads rarely ever turn a profit historically, and we'd have more frequent train service if we didn't make profitability a prerequisite for expanding service levels or amenities on trains. For what it is, the Amtrak services west of Chicago don't play a great role in most urban dwellers' travel plans due to the convenience of air travel's speed and the infinite destinations afforded by personal vehicles without the need to keep to a schedule, such as on a train. Though for the cities in between St. Paul and Milwaukee, Amtrak represents the second best convenient option for folks looking to travel, and for some, maybe the only one.
In a few minutes, we will be arriving at our first stop, Red Wing, Minnesota. For those of you departing at Red Wing, please take this opportunity to gather your belongings and then make your way to the center doors, where you'll see a uniformed Amtrak conductor. Red Wing, Minnesota is our first stop.
Cities along the line are too far from major airports, and having more connection to their local depots, you always see some degree of ridership on the limited daily services out here over the years.
When we arrive, watch your step. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for riding with Amtrak. The station stop is Red Wing, Minnesota. Ladies and gentlemen, our next station stop is Winona, Minnesota. Winona is our next station stop. Good morning, good afternoon to those of you who joined us here at Red Wing. Welcome aboard Amtrak train 1340, the Borealis. Watch your step as you walk through. Hang on tight to the back of the seat, the overhead luggage racks with those built-in handles. The cafe car is all the way at the rear of the train. Once again, welcome aboard. Thank you all for choosing Amtrak. With no next stop.
The Amish and Mennonite communities out here are particularly fond of Amtrak, as they are throughout the United States. For folks living simpler lives, trains remain an uncomplicated way to travel that never left their family plans. Such could be the same for folks living in cities and suburbs, were it not for the perceived notion that faster travel options with more personal comforts lending a feeling of overcoming the unknown and providing security in one's plans were most deserving of their travel dollars.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I am.
Thanks.
Amtrak has positioned the Borealis with fares in line with coach airfare, and with better accommodations or quality of life than intercity bus services, both of which have become somewhat chaotic in recent decades.
For those of you departing at the cross, please take this opportunity to start gathering up your belongings and working on your seats, ensuring you have everything you came on with. Once you have your items, feel free to make your way to the center door staffed by Amtrak conductors. Across the sunset will be our next station stop. And thank you for riding with Amtrak. His upcoming stop is La Crosse, Wisconsin. Hang on tight, watch your step. Soma, next stop.
What Amtrak struggles to overcome is keeping riders in this part of the country returning to services which challenge their travel routines. A lot of PR has gone into selling the Borealis service as an innovative and sustainable travel option, but Amtrak's success will depend on its timely operation across freight railroads holding together despite harsh winters and variable freight traffic schedules. There's also the possibility that upgrades to newer Siemens Venture passenger cars, such as those used on Illinois, Michigan, and Missouri Amtrak routes, will boost ridership, though Minnesota appears to have yet to become a contributor to Amtrak's next-generation railcar funding pool, though by the time you watch this video, maybe that will have changed. If all else fails, it will be up to the tenacity of Amtrak crews, who, while being professional and very adept at their guest service capabilities, have a lot on their hands in the operation of any train, let alone one with a whole lot of passengers that are unfamiliar with the particulars of train travel. On this trip, our crews worked diligently throughout, maintaining a great, helpful attitude that seemed to please passengers who are known for passively keeping their real complaints to themselves, even when the crew might be capable of helping.
And ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes, we will be arriving at our next station stop, Soma, Wisconsin. Next stop.
Is the upper Midwest too shy to trust Amtrak with their travel plans? Is Amtrak's guest relations hardy enough to endure complaints from passengers come wintertime, when delays and cancellations from the often brutal winter weather sets in? Time will tell. Just as my time aboard Borealis has shown me today that setting back my arrival time in Chicago versus traveling by either airlines or the earlier departing Empire Builder was indeed a good decision.
Welcome back, Patrick.
Was that Empire Builder?
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the Wisconsin Dells. For those of you departing at the Dells, if you have the install, please gather your belongings and then make your way to the center doors where you see Amtrak conductors. When we arrive, watch your step. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you of Amtrak. Next station stop is the Wisconsin Dells.
The single-level cars on Borealis are as enjoyable an experience here as they are on their East Coast routes. Though not as scenic, the security of having the train set originate in St. Paul at a more assured departure time versus the Builder is a fantastic selling point that I'll utilize on future trips. Though would I be connecting in Chicago to another long-distance train, the Borealis would not be my modal choice to begin the trip. A flight would assure I can make a train departing in the afternoon or early evening from Chicago. We're more than halfway through the trip now. Stopped at Portage. Looks like weather is moving in, and I've finally gotten used to the motion of these single-level Amfleet cars and Horizons too. I haven't ridden long distance or longer distance in a single level since Cardinal and the Silver Meteor and the Silver Star, so it's been a while, but I think I finally got used to it again. What Borealis best overcomes is my desire to simply drive Interstate 94 for the majority of a trip to Chicago, such as I did on my first Hiawatha trip last year. That's another trip you can check out on this channel. I'm not keen on parking my car in the high-priced lots of Chicagoland, nor does the prospect of weaving around convoys of trucks or driving myself through weather on Interstate 94 such as we've seen today sound like a great idea. As we approach Milwaukee, Borealis has sold me on its utility in my travel option toolkit, as it has for over 100 additional passengers making their way on board at the stop in the city's second most fond of trains to Chicago.
More than 100 passengers joining us from downtown Milwaukee heading south towards Chicago. It's going to get pretty busy on board, ladies and gentlemen. Take this opportunity, start gathering your belongings, consolidating things, sitting near any passengers you might know. Chances are you will be having a stranger sit next to you after this downtown Milwaukee stop. For those of you getting off the train at downtown Milwaukee, take this opportunity to look around your seats and just verify you have everything you came on with. You will be getting a new crew at downtown Milwaukee, ladies and gentlemen. They're not as cool as us, but they are going to be walking through after the Milwaukee stop to rescan tickets. They'll give you further instruction once they take over the train. And then once again, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to downtown Milwaukee, the intermodal station. We're going to leave the party here at downtown Milwaukee. Take this opportunity to gather up your belongings, make your way to the center doors where you see conductors. And when we arrive, watch your step. Coming out from the train, take your time, use those handrails, watch your footing on the platform. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a very large crowd joining us here at downtown Milwaukee, heading south towards Chicago. Make space for these passengers, consolidate your items, get your family together there. It's gonna get pretty busy on board the train.
Very packed train today. We will continue to fill up down the line at our next scheduled station stop. We do have an additional 20 passengers boarding. So for those of you who have empty seats next to you, please make sure absolutely no personal items are in that empty seat. We do need all seats made available. Once again, absolutely no personal items in the empty seat next to you. Inside of everyone's coach car, you will find your restrooms and your travel receptacles located at opposite ends. Once again, all coach cars are equipped with restrooms and trash receptacles located opposite ends. As well as safety pamphlets located in the seat back in front of you. Also, there's absolutely no smoking aboard the train. This includes e-cigarettes and vapes. Doing that will forfeit your right of passage. And lastly, we do have a working cafe car aboard this train for those passengers who just boarded in Milwaukee. That cafe car is located towards the back of the train, opposite direction of travel. Thank you and welcome aboard. Next scheduled station stop approximately 10 minutes is General Mitchell Airport.
A new crew takes over in Milwaukee. The Borealis is an extension of 2 Hiawatha Service trains and represents the only part of the Hiawatha Service catalog to feature a cafe car with business class fares since the state of Wisconsin axed it a decade ago. From here on out, Borealis is a drop in the bucket of regular Chicago rail services that never cease to exist for a significant portion of time, such as what the Twin Cities experienced by the 1990s. As such, the base of folks ready to invoke Amtrak in their travel plans is considerable, and making a great showing on Borealis trains over this first week of operation.
The only doors that will be opening for our airport stop are doors for ECA conductor. General Mitchell International Airport coming right up.
For those of you who just joined us at the airport, welcome aboard Borealis. Train 1340. As you can see, we are a sold out train. Unfortunately, we do not have anything but single seat bus available. Please take the first open seat that you see. And also for those passengers, again, if anybody has an empty seat next to us, please make sure no personal items are in that empty seat unless you would like to pay for it. One ticket, one seat per person, once again. Unless you would like to pay for that empty seat next to you, please make sure no personal items are in there. Our next scheduled station stop in approximately 12 minutes will be that of Sturtevant. Once again, next scheduled station stop is 12 minutes. Sturtevant. And also for those of you who just joined us, we do have a working cafe car aboard this train. And it's the very last car on the train located opposite the direction of travel. All of your coach cars have restrooms and trash system for put at opposite ends. Thank you and welcome aboard.
Now arriving Sturtevant. This is Sturtevant. Final call, Sturtevant.
At Sturtevant, we idle near a northbound Venture-equipped Hiawatha before powering on through the fields of southern Wisconsin, over the border into Illinois.
For those of you who just joined us,
Passing through Rondout Junction, we've now entered trackage owned by Illinois' commuter rail service Metra. Soon, the modest commuter rail stations appear in tandem with suburban scenes, growing more dense as the mileposts tick down in anticipation of an on-time arrival in the Windy City. Making one final stop in Glenview, a number of passengers alight, and we make our way through the rain, skies clearing as Chicago takes hold. I wonder how many of the new passengers on today's train are prepared to be let out into downtown Chicago and the currently under renovation Union Station. I recall my first trips through the basement that is the passenger concourse in Chicago, hopeful to eventually navigate the maze and find the Great Hall. If one opens themselves up to the experience of CTA's extensive transit network, the Chicago Connection experience is simple and economical, with a $5 day pass making for a very good value. But if you factor in the cost of cab fares or fuel for rental cars or those doing the chauffeuring picking up these new passengers, it can quickly make the benefits of train travel evaporate like rainfall on a hot city street in the summer. Hopefully, Borealis builds some new veteran ridership, who are as happy to be coming back to Chicago someday as I am, and as ready to be using the multitude of transit options that Chicago affords them, even if their cities in which they got on, like the Twin Cities, aren't as great at attracting ridership to public transit. In next week's video, I'll be taking the following day's westbound Borealis trip back to St. Paul. The train is set to be turned overnight, so the view will be from the other side of the train, and there will be some things that come about in Union Station that are worth considering for the future ridership of this service. For now, I want to thank you for taking this journey via this longer video with me. I really appreciate y'all coming along on these trips as I try to make inner-city travel practical and something along the lines of informed. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you back on board Borealis next week. Thanks for watching. All right, we're off the train and I need some dinner. Let's go hit up the Damon Blue Line stop, the usual place.